Hello champions, I welcome you all to score 360 out of 360 in NEET Bio within 250 days. And today we are going to deal with the third topic of evolution, which is natural and artificial selection. Now, you might have heard about industrial melanism. If you have not heard, do not worry. The story of two moth and all. No? You have not heard? No problem. We will talk about it today. So there are so many questions that have come repeatedly from that particular topic, that is industrial melanism, which comes under natural selection. So today's our main target will be that. Okay. And I also want to tell you, people who are wondering like, where does this topic come from? Well, children, in the previous session we spoke about this, that is some people said that we were created as such. Okay, there was nothing, there was no involvement of scientific things and all. We were created as such. So all the species that you see were already from the very beginning. Okay, but then came certain evidences of evolution, that is paleontological evidence, embryological evidence, the homologous structure, the analogous structures. All of them were evidences which said that no, evolution has happened, and that is how different species have come. Okay, and now today's topic is in continuation with that. Natural and artificial selection, no, basically is a type of evidence of evolution. We are saying that yes, evolution has happened. We have two more things to show you. Okay, now if you want the PDF of the same whatever we have covered, children, you can join our WhatsApp channel, and there it will be just us. Okay, and the number of questions which has come from this chapter for NEET was 4. Now 4 into 4, 16 marks. 16 marks is a big deal. We cannot lose it, so we have to study this chapter properly. And now tell me honestly, who all did the homework? Let's see who all did the homework and who all got it correct. So this is the homework question. Let's see if we're able to do that. The process by which organisms with different evolutionary history, okay, evolutionary history as in they do not have any dependence, they are coming from different organisms, okay, they involve similar phenotypic adaptation. Phenotypic as in physical, okay, phenotypic as in they are having same physical features, same physical features. So there are two Qs given in your question. One is that they are not evolutionary very much connected, they are distant, very different, okay, but the physical forms of them are same, okay, in response to common environmental challenge. So this same physical features comes because the environment that they are living in, okay, the environment that they are living in is the same. So for example, you have butterflies and you have birds. Children, butterflies are insects, birds is a whole different category, right? Now over here, butterfly also has their own cute little wings, right? Whereas if you talk about birds, birds also have their set of wings, and both of them, they are living in what? They are living in air, right? So this is the environment that is same. Now this is the physical features that are same. Now what do you call this type of evolution? Okay, what do you call this type of evolution, or what do you call this type of process where two organisms are coming together to have same physical features because of the same environment, but evolutionarily they are not too much connected? What do you call this? You call this as convergent evolution. You're converging to be like same. Convergent as in something is coming together. So both of them, they are coming together, and this is known as convergent evolution, my dear children. Whereas on the other hand, where you have same structures, okay, over here you see the physically this is wing, this is also wing, but do you think anatomically inside, if you see the structure of a wing, it will be same? No, children, this is papery. If you touch a butterfly, it won't be able to fly anymore. What about birds? Is it like that? No, they have feathers, they have everything, they have bones and also. So obviously the anatomical structure is not same. Okay, so that is why I am saying the evolutionary that they are not connected. Now there is one more group of organisms where basically they have the same anatomical structure, but now because of different environments that they have lived in, their physical features are different. For example, if you talk about human forelimb, we have forelimb and we use this forelimb for having food. Okay, if you talk about cheetah has forelimb for running. But if you see the structure of the forelimb of us and cheetah, it's the same. We have the same bone over here, that is humerus, and radius and ulna. So this type of evolution where we are anatomically same, but we are going into different direction because our needs are different, that is known as divergent evolution. Okay, that is something else, and convergent is something else. I hope we studied it in the previous session. If you have not studied, that is why I explained. So there might be certain children who didn't hear the other video and have come for this particular video. I don't want you to be sad. That is why I explained. But if you want to watch it, please go and watch it and clear your concepts. Okay. Now comes another evidence, that is molecular homology. So before going into natural and artificial selection, I will be just talking about this very small thing, okay, and then we'll go ahead. So children, we all know that we all have genetic material, agree? Every organism that you see has a genetic material. It could be DNA, it could be RNA, whatever is it, okay, it could be DNA, it could be RNA, whatever is it, okay. Apart from genetic material, we also have proteins. We also have proteins for a hair, proteins for an eye, everything is there, right? So this and this is common between all organisms. How can something be common between all organisms? That suggests that molecularly, if we go into our body, if we go inside each cell, we get to know that we all have genetic material, we all have proteins, probably because our common ancestor had that. Because our common ancestor had that, which is why this, for example, A organism, B organism, both of them have these two things in common. Now, obviously for some organism it can be DNA, for other organism it can be RNA and all. And if you still didn't understand, I can tell you. For example, if you take monkey or basically apes and us human beings, 95% of our DNA is similar. How can that be possible? 95% or more of our DNA is similar. How can that be possible? It can be only possible if we have evolved from a common ancestor. If we have evolved from a common ancestor, then only it is possible. So that also shows that molecularly, if we go deep into our cells and everything, we get to know that molecular basis also, it's kind of same thing, which means we had a common ancestor, and from common ancestor, if we are getting two different organisms, that means definitely children, evolution has taken place. So this is known as molecular homology, okay. So in your NCERT is written, in the same line of argument, similarities in the proteins and genes performing a given function among diverse organisms gives clues to common ancestry. These biochemical similarities point to the same shared ancestry as structural similarities among diverse organisms. So it's the same thing that I just said, it's just a little complicated. So this short paragraph is given, but we do not have to ignore it. This is known as molecular homology, okay. Works? Now let's talk about natural selection. Now this is a very interesting story. So I want to present in front of you light form and dark form of a moth. Okay, this moth, you call it peppered moth. What do you call it? Peppered moth. Fine. Now listen to my story very carefully. So in 1850s, in and around 1850s, there used to be very beautiful plants, okay. There used to be very beautiful plants, okay. And this, obviously, you know, in 1815s, there is no much industrialization and everything, okay. It was pre-industrialization era, okay. So this point of time, everything was good. All the organisms that were living were breathing in very nice air and everything, okay. So obviously, there are two friends, okay. There are two friends who are algae and fungi. They said, "Arey yaar, it's very nice climate. It's very nice climate. Let's have a tea. Let's be together always. It's very nice. I'm liking it. Okay, let's go to the tree and let's be just there itself, because it's very peaceful over there." So these algae and fungi, they went there, okay, and they set up stuff like this over there, okay. And this association, okay, you call it as lichen. What do you call it? Lichen. But the thing is, algae and fungi, both of them are like only when good environmental conditions are there, when there is no too much of pollution. At that point only, I think we can come together and sit over here. Otherwise, we won't be coming over here. So lichen is basically formed when algae and fungi comes together. Specific type of algae, specific type of fungi, it comes together. You call this association as what? Lichen. This is symbiotic association where both of them are benefiting each other, okay. Now, one very important thing about lichen that you have to remember is that lichen would not be found in area where there is too much amount of pollution. Okay, now over here it is 1850s, the wind is really nice, it's all breezy, it's all cool, no pollutions, nothing. So this lichen is growing, and this lichen basically makes the plant white in color. Okay, makes the plant white in color, my dear children. So the plant appears like this. Now there is another era, that is 1920s era, where what happened? Basically the same plant that you see over here, it became really sad because now the pollution was really high because of industrialization. Now pollution was very high because of industrialization, which is why algae and fungi said, we cannot be there. We would not be forming this association, that is lichen. So lichen is not there, and you see the plant trunk over here. What is the color of it? It will be dark. It will be dark in color, my dear children. So over here is just black. You can say it's black, it's dark. There is no lichen over here. No lichen. Because, why? Because lichen is sensitive to pollution. Okay, so these are the two different things that we need to know. Now comes the entry of the moth, the pepper moth. The thing is, you have white color pepper moth and you have a dark form of it. Two of them, they were originally there, okay, because of the mutation, okay, because of the mutations in them, you get two varieties of moth. Because of the mutations, it is already there. We didn't make it, it is already there in the environment, okay. So the white moth in 1850s, it was the happiest. Why so? Because the white moths could stay here. White moths could basically stay over here and none of their predators could see them. None of the predators could see them. So the white moth were really happy over here, okay. So along with the plant, who is happy, children? White moth is happy, okay. Now what about the dark form? What about the dark form? The dark peppered moth, what do you think will happen to them? So over here, when dark pepper moth usually come and sits, okay, now it is not visible, but usually, so I'll change the color of dark pepper moth to something else. Works? Now, don't you think it's clearly visible? Because all the plant part that you see is totally white, my dear children. It's totally white because of the lichen, okay. And over this thing, if something dark comes and sit, obviously the predator which is there, okay, for example a bird or something like that, it will come and eat it, obviously, because it is visible. So dark moth was kind of very sad, okay. And at this particular time, white moths were the one which were leading. There were so many white moths, whereas when you talk about dark moth, there were not too many dark moth. Now in 1920s, there came a twist in this story. Just like how you have twist in the films, right? Similarly over here also you have a twist. Now the thing was, there was no lichen, so the trunk became black. Now over here, you think the white moth which were like, we are the one who dominates the world. We will be coming and sitting over here and no one would understand that we are here. But they are clearly visible, my dear friends. But they got clearly visible. What about the dark moths? What about the remaining few dark moths? They were here. Do you think, can you see any moth that I have drawn over here? No. Nothing is being seen because they were able to camouflage over here very clearly. Whereas when you talk about the white moths, they were not able to camouflage and they were visible, they were eaten by the predators. So this time, who is sad and who is happy? The white moth became sad, okay. Whereas when you talk about the dark moth, it became happy. And this time, the number of dark moth, it basically increased, okay. And now, why do I say that this is an example of natural selection? Are we selecting the moths over here? Were we the one who were responsible for lichen over there? No, we were not there. We were not the one who was saying that algae and fungi, please come and stand over there. Or we were not the one who were saying the predator, there is the white moth. No, we didn't have anything to do with this. This was all occurring naturally. But one thing I want to remind you is that the pollution that has been caused is because of anthropogenic activities. What do you mean the anthropogenic activities? Basically human activities which are disastrous, which are not really good for the environment. So this was because of the anthropogenic activities that the lichen which was there initially was not there later on. Because we had too much amount of industrialization, there was too much amount of pollutants being released and everything like that, which is why we didn't have lichen. But it is not us who selected the moth, it was the nature itself which selected the moth. Okay, now where do you see evolution over here? How can you give this as a evidence? Basically, initially Initially, the number of white moth were more, whereas when you talk about dark moth, it was less. Okay, so the gene pool, when you talk about the gene pool, the number of genes and everything, the different types of it. So over here you saw the one that had white moth, the genes of white moth were more, whereas when you talk about the dark moth, it was less in the 1850s. Whereas when you go to 1920s, what happened, children? Opposite of it happened. The dark moth, their genes increased, whereas the white moth, their genes decreased over here. Okay, this is second thing. So gene pool, this is gene pool. Okay, so gene pool is a number of genes. Okay, number of genes. If you have a shift in the gene pool, that means yes, evolution has taken place. This is also the example of evolution. Evolution is not always when fishes turn into reptiles or reptile turns into amphibians, amphibians turns into reptiles, nothing like that. It's not a direct process. Sometimes whenever there's a shift in the amount of genes or the type of genes, you also call this as evolution. And this is an example of evolution. And this is an example of natural selection also. And this process that you see over here, you call this industrial melanism, because this was happening because of the industries being made. Industrial melanism. Melanism, you know, melanin. Melanin is the one that is responsible for our skin tone and everything. So over here, the color, that is what it meant. So industrial melanism, example is this. If you're asked what is this particular industrial melanism based on, it is based on natural selection. Okay, it is also an evidence of evolution that has taken place. So will you remember the dark and the light forms and who survived and who didn't survive? Please remember, children, one more thing, lichen is an indicator of pollution. Okay, lichen is basically an indicator of pollution, which is why it was not able to survive over here. So if you do not have too much pollution at that point of area, you will find lichen growth. If there is too much amount of pollution, you will find that lichen is not growing. So isn't it acting as a what do you say? I just said right now, I forgot. Industrial pollution indicators, they are acting as a indicator. Okay, please remember, I write it over here if you want. Lichen is pollution indicator. Pollution indicator. Works? Chalo. Now let's read it once. So another interesting observation supporting evolution by natural selection comes from England. So this happened in England, okay? In a collection of moths made in 1850s, that is before industrialization set in, it was observed that there were more white-winged moths on the trees rather than the dark-winged or melanized moths, okay? So the dark-winged, you call it melanized. They have too much amount of melanin in them, which is why they are dark in color. So I'll write it there. Do not get confused. It is melanized moth. Okay, now going ahead, however, in the collection carried out from the same area, but after industrialization, that is in 1920s, there were more dark-winged moths in the same area. That is, the proportion was reversed, and this reversion of proportion is known as what? Evolution over here, children. This is evolution over here. Okay, the genes have changed. The number of genes, the type of genes have changed now. Going ahead, the explanation put forth for this observation was that predators will spot a moth against a contrasting background. Predators, as in the one who comes and eat, will be spotting a moth against a contrasting background. So this white colored moth has a contrasting background which is black in color. This is contrast. Okay, during post industrialization period, that is after industrialization, the tree trunks became dark due to industrial smoke and soot. Okay, under this condition, the white winged moth did not survive due to predators, whereas dark winged or melanized moth survived. Before industrialization set in, thick growth of almost white colored lichen covered the trees. In that background, that the white winged moth survived, but the dark winged color were picked out by predators. As I said, since it was white, so white could easily camouflage, it was surviving. But when everything became dark, obviously it was getting shown up. Do you know that lichens can be used as industrial pollination indicators? Yes, my children know that. Okay, they will not grow in areas that are polluted. Hence, moths that were able to camouflage themselves, that is hide in the background, survived. Okay, this understanding is supported by the fact that in areas where industrialization did not occur, example in rural areas, the count of melanin moths were low. So this, how did you come to conclusion with that? Basically, okay, this was there, but in some rural areas where industrialization still didn't happen, the condition was still this. That is, you had more amount of white moth and you had less amount of dark moth. So whenever there was lichen, you got to understand that basically white moth's number was more and dark moth's number was less. But when lichen was not there at this point of time, obviously dark moth took the advantage of this and it survived, whereas this did not. Okay. Now, this showed that in a mixed population that can be better adapt, this shows that in a mixed population, those that can better adapt survive and increase in a population size. Okay, it's saying that basically in a mixed population, those of them will be surviving who have better adaptation and who have better adaptation, that's all. So remember that no variant is completely wiped out. This is also very important. Don't think like over here when I was talking about dark moth and white moth, I am saying it's decreasing and it's increasing. Okay, I have never said that dark moth just wiped out. So it's there, the number will be less. And whenever time comes, we say no, we have to wait for our time. Good things comes to us later on. So similarly over here, when correct time comes at this point of time, this could also survive. Remember, it is not getting wiped out. So that is one example of natural selection, and this is known as industrial melanism. I'm telling you again. Now there is one more example, my dear children. Okay. So the same thing. So I showed you the white moth. See, this is pre-industrialization. This is pre-industrialization. I might mess up with the spelling. Yes. So over here, you don't even see this moth. Do you see the moth? Actually, I think you can see, but yeah, it's not very much visible. So this is almost camouflaging in the environment, whereas you see the black moth, it's clearly visible. Poor black moth. No. Now over here, if you see the white moth, poor guy. After this is post-industrialization. Okay, this is post-industrialization. Over here in the year 1920s, you see the white moth is clearly visible against a dark background because it's a contrasting background, whereas the black one is like happy, I am surviving, champ, this time it's your turn to die. So that is the thing that is happening over here. Works? Now, going ahead, we have one more example of natural selection which is given in your textbook, and that is about herbicide, pesticides and stuff like that. So over here, children, okay, there you understand pest. Do you understand pest? What do you mean by pest? My friends are the pests of my life. That means they are the people who make my life terrible. In a joking sense, I'm telling you, they make my life really, really good. But sometimes when our love increases very much, we say they are pests. Okay, so pest is basically something that can cause trouble. And when you talk about pest, in the case of biology, basically you are talking about organism that can cause trouble to plants or other organisms. Okay, so over here we had a pest. Okay, I'm not saying the name of the pest, we have pest A, suppose. And then we had pest, a mutant of it. Okay, this underwent mutation and you have a different variety of the pest, that is pest B. Okay, so initially both of them were there. Over here, the white one is A and the, okay, I'll make it in red. The B one is the red one. Okay, so initially you had so many white ones. And farmers, they were like, this pest is killing my whole plant, I have to do something. Okay, and they had one of their friend also, that is the red one. This, as I said, it underwent mutation and that is how you got the red one. This is a result of mutation. Cool, that you got the red one. Now the problem over here is that they didn't actually count him as a friend. He was just solo over there. They were like, we cannot include you in our group. You just stay away. You are a different form. Okay. So then the farmers came. They saw the white ones and they sprayed pesticides over them. What did they spray? Pesticides. Pesticides basically kill the pest. To kill the pest, what do we have, children? We have sprayed something that is known as pesticide. Okay, we sprayed it. And then what happened, my dear children? And then the white ones, they died. The white ones, I'm not saying all of them died. You see how many of them were there? Now you're left with just 2. But what about the red one? The only red one which was there, it still survived. How? Because the mutation which was there in the red one allowed it to survive. What do you mean by mutation? Some changes in your genes which can either benefit you or can cause trouble in your body. So over here, this particular mutation which was there made the organism a bit different from others, but it also gave the superpower of saving themselves from what? From pesticides. So this had some genetic mutation, which is why they were saved from pesticide, whereas A didn't have that mutation, which is why did not survive much. Okay, only a few of them they survived. So over here then we saw that later on, okay, these many things they started growing, and over here this the red ones dominated and the white ones, as you can see, they are not much over here. Okay, so what do you understand from this? Same thing what we understood from the black moth and the white moth story. Over here also you had the white color pests and the red color pest. It's not white and red color. Basically you have pest, one that has mutation, the other one that does not have mutation. So initially they didn't allow him to be in the group. They said that we are different group, we have everything, we just stay over here. But then when pesticide was applied, because of the mutation that it had, it was able to survive, whereas the rest of them, the number really went down and we just had 2. Again pesticide was put. It was seen that basically this one was able to survive, this one was able to increase its number, okay, but the white ones were not able to survive much. Over here you saw, now the thing has reversed. Again the thing has reversed. From here to here, when you go, here you find more amount of red colored ones, whereas you find less amount of white. Over here you find more amount of white color ones but less amount of red. Okay, so don't think that, ma'am, how can this particular organism reproduce if there is only one? Suppose there is one more. Okay, in this picture they didn't give, but just imagine there is one more. So basically they both interbred and then you got red colored organisms. Okay, so that is one more example. So what's say, herbicides, pesticides and everything work like that. And here how can we say evolution has happened? Again the gene pool has changed, just number of genes were dominating over here, but different type of genes are dominating over here. So again this is an example of evolution, my dear children. This is also an example of evolution. Okay, it's an evidence of evolution that has happened. And over here I also want to take, again we are using pesticides. So this is also because of anthropogenic activities. Okay. I also wanted to tell one more thing which I am definitely forgetting. Yeah, this is an example of natural selection as well. Okay, are we selecting the organisms over here? No, the nature is selecting. The nature is selecting. We didn't bring out the mutation. Were we the ones who brought out the mutation over here? It was naturally occurring, this mutation, and this mutation let it survive over there. We do not have any hand in that. So this is also an example of natural selection. Over here in the case of moth also, we didn't have any hand in that. The mutation was had happened so much time before and we didn't do anything. Okay, the only thing that we did is climate change was occurred by us. Similarly over here also, the climate change and everything, the pesticide formation and everything was made by us. That is the only thing that we did. So these are the example of natural selection. Why I am very much specifying this thing? Because you might get confused between artificial and natural selection. Artificial is when we are the people who bring out the variations in some of the other areas. So I will be showing you that also. Okay, but we have to read this example first and then we will go on with the next one. So similarly, excess use of herbicides, pesticides, etc. has only resulted in selection of resistant varieties in a much lesser time scale. So over here, this variety, this mutant variety, I call it resistant because it is resistant to the action of pesticides. So this is a resistant variety. So the ones that are resistant, they survive. So so what happens in our body also, we have the bacteria, they have evolved so much such that whatever medicine we give, they are able to survive. Whatever antibiotics we take, still they are able to survive in our body. Why? Because they have evolved in a way that they are resistant to this. Now you might be saying that people go and make that thing around the ants. What do you call this? And some lekha, I don't remember. Okay, that thing they put around the ant, and ant will be like, this human being is not using his brain, and then it moves out. Why so? Because it is resistant to that. It had made all this mutations in itself. The resistant varieties, they survived, and now you just have the resistant varieties. Now you have to bring out something else, something new that could kill them. Okay, and again you might have few resistant varieties which could still survive. So resistance happens because of mutation. So there is good mutation, there is bad mutation. The good mutation results them in survival, helps them in survival, whereas others do not. So this is example of natural selection. We are not doing anything. Okay, now this is also true for microbes against which we employ antibiotics or drugs against eukaryotic organisms or cell. Hence resistant organisms are appearing in a time scale of months or years and not century. We are able to find that resistant things are basically basically found in months and years. We do not have to wait for centuries to find them. You saw the example of moth. There it was 1850s and the 1920s. It's not a century entirely. You just had to wait for a few years to see that particular evolution. So it's saying that evolution can happen over time. It does not need so many years and stuff like that. So these are the examples of evolution by anthropogenic activities. Anthropogenic activities as in our terrible actions, okay. This also tells us that evolution is not a directed process in the sense of determinism. It is a stochastic process based on chance events in nature and chance mutation in organisms. So over here, I cannot say that evolution will happen, because I can say that, okay, the white moth, you have to survive. The black moth, you cannot survive. This is what I chose. This is not a determinant process. Evolution does not work like that. Okay, it works on the basis of chances. So there's a chance that there could be some change in the environment, and that chance, okay, could be utilized by the organism which is pro to it and will survive. Okay, so this is on chance, and with these mutations which are occurring, they are also occurring by chance. This is not something that I can direct, or evolution thinks that they can direct by themselves. Okay, so it is occurring very naturally, my dear children. So I hope you are done with the two examples of natural selection as well. Now we'll move on to the next thing, that is artificial selection. And over here I have cute little doggy and not so cute little frog. I don't know why did I say that. It's wolf. Okay, sometimes Jasmine ma'am goes off, so that is very fine. So let's see what you mean by artificial selection. So this paragraph is given between the molecular homology and natural selection paragraph, a small paragraph. Okay, it's important. Why? I'll tell you. So okay, I'll tell you directly. It's not always naturally things are occurring. Sometimes we human beings, because we have some brain, we also do certain things. So initially we had wolves, children. Okay, we had wolves, and you know wolves, they are dangerous. If they are hungry, they will eat us. Okay, so what happened was, human beings initially had wolves because we all lived in forests and stuff like that and everything, you know that, right? Some wolves were like papa wolves. They were pavam wolves. Okay, they were like, we won't do you anything bad to you, just give us food. So basically the human beings which were there, they were utilizing the wolf for protection. Okay, they didn't want anyone to come near their area. Okay, human beings didn't want anyone to come near their home and everything, so that's why they had certain wolf which were really good to them, and the wolf was taking care of them because the human beings which were there were giving the wolf food. So there was a kind of mutual benefit for both of them, that is human beings and wolf, after a period of time. So there were obviously certain wolf which were dangerous, okay, which were dangerous. I am not saying it was not. Okay, and certain wolf were there which were pavam, okay, bile. They were all good. Okay, they were all good. They were papa wolf. Now what happened? Human beings chose to domesticate them and found that, okay, I have two wolf, and two of them basically, okay, these are wolf. Please understand, this gola I am making is wolf. Obviously I cannot make a wolf over here. So this is male wolf and this is female wolf. They took the varieties that they wanted, okay, and they made them crossbreed such that you got something which had the features of both. And in this way human beings did this such that they got dogs. Now this is not a one-step process, obviously. Too much amount of domestication, everything happened. Too much amount of mutations also happened probably later on. Okay, there was some type of evolution that was happening that resulted in this thing. But who was the person, who were the people who were responsible for this? It was human beings, because human beings found them and not made them, okay, found them that these are the varieties which are labile, which are papa people. Now you can breed them and produce something of their kind which are also papa and which would also take care of the home and everything. Okay, and in this course of evolution you got dog. So if you do not believe me, you can search it because I know this looks like a cooked up story, but yes children, dogs basically came from wolves. So that was an evolution that was happening, and it had humans role, a major role of human beings in this whole course of evolution, which is why I say this is an example of artificial selection. This is not natural selection. We human beings artificially selected that, and we are able to do that. For example, you have different type of plants also. For example, you have cauliflower, you have cabbage and everything, these arises from a single plant. The cauliflower that you see, the cabbage that you see, all of them, they're basically arising from a single plant. So human beings chose that, okay, I'll take the flower buds and I'll do something, basically I'll made it undergo hybridization and such that I'll get a cabbage or something else to make a cauliflower, but one plant won't be utilized. But over here, do you see naturally it was happening? No, it was artificially being done, and after artificially being done, some of them survived, so they survived, so they're still there. Some of them, they kept on evolving, so they became something else in the course of time, but this was occurring because of human intervention. So this is known as artificial selection. Now in the case of moth and in the case of that pest and all, we didn't have anything to do in that, but over here we are the one who selected them, and we are the one who are crossbreeding them, and then we are finding someone of our type. Okay, our type as in what we like, okay, something that we can domesticate. So man has bred selected plants and animals for agriculture, horticulture, sport or security. Man has domesticated many wild animals and crops. This intensive breeding programs have created breeds that differ from other breeds. Example, dogs. You have different types of dogs. This happened. Why do we have Pomeranian? Why do we have Labrador? Why do we have German Shepherd and all the dogs? Shih Tzu, everything. Because it's because of the interbreeding and everything done by human beings, us. That's why different things came, and obviously little amount of evolution also happened. The genetic makeup changed up, which is why they all look different. Okay, this happened in the course of time, but initiators were us, okay, but still are of the same group. It is argued that if within hundreds of years man could create new breeds, could not nature have done the same over millions of years? Now this is an evidence of evolution. It is saying that, okay, how it is an evidence of evolution? It's saying that if human beings, us, can do these things within hundreds of years, then don't you think that evolution can happen naturally in the course of millions of years? Because we assume that universe came 20 billion years ago, Earth came 4.5 billion years ago, okay, so then obviously it is very much possible, and the first cellular organism came 2 billion years ago, so it is very much possible for evolution to have taken place and to bring out lots of new species as well. So this is also an evidence of evolution, my dear children. Please not get confused with this and natural one. Works? I hope you understand. Now time for questions. This is the first question, and yeah, you might be saying that, ma'am, then teach the scientific name. Biston betuloria is the name of the moth. Peppered moth, no, with love we call it peppered moth. Where can I write it? Biston. This B should be small. Okay, you know, its specific name, species name should be in small letters. Betuloria. This is our dear little moth, which is peppered moth. So in the case of peppered moth, that is Biston betuloria, the black colored form became dominant over the light colored form in England during industrial evolution. This is an example of what? You have to tell me the answer. I will be discussing the answer later on, okay? So the first option, appearance of the darker colored individuals due to very poor sunlight. Appearance of dark colored individuals due to very poor sunlight, that is first thing. Protective mimicry. It was mimicry, it was not actually black, okay. Inheritance of darker color character acquired due to darker environment, okay. Natural selection whereby the darker forms were selected. So the question is, in the case of peppered moth, you saw that black colored form were dominant over the light colored form in England during industrial evolution. What was the reason for it? You have to tell the reason. I hope you know it. If you know it, tell me the answer right now, okay. Going ahead. Second, phenomenon of industrial melanism demonstrates what? I told you there are so many questions coming around this topic. I cannot help it. So phenomenon of industrial melanism demonstrate what, children? Geographical isolation, reproductive isolation, natural selection, induced mutation. You can choose the answer and tell me. Third one, industrial melanism is an example of what? Drug resistance, okay. Darkening of skin due to smoke from industries, protective resemblance with the surrounding, defensive adaptation of skin against ultraviolet radiation. You can tell the answer, okay. It is an example of what? This is 2003 question. Now 4, the change of the lighter colored variety of peppered moth to its darker variety is due to what? the change in the lighter colored variety of pepper moth to its darker variety. How did you get two varieties? This is an example of mutation, regeneration, genetic isolation or temporal isolation. Tell me. Fourth question. Now fifth question is from the topic that we already covered previously. So you have to tell me the answer. Okay. That is in the previous session we studied about it. Which one of the following option gives one correct example each of convergent evolution and divergent evolution? So convergent is over here, divergent is over here. You have to check which one is the correct example. Eyes of octopus and mammals. Okay. Bones of forelimbs of vertebrate. What do you mean by convergent evolution? I'll tell you again. Convergent, and you tell me the answer. Convergent evolution is when, because of the same environment, different organisms, not much evolutionary related. Okay, if you talk about evolutionary basis, they are not much evolutionary related. Okay, they are having so over here, yeah, so we have same environment. Okay, we have same environment, and because of the same environment, different organisms which are not much evolutionary related, they are having the same functions. So, or basically they have the same phenotypic features. Okay, they have what? The same physical character. Anatomically, okay, anatomically they are different. Physical character are the same, but different anatomy is there. Different anatomy as in the internal structure and everything is different. Okay. On the other hand, when you talk about divergent evolution, okay, when you talk about divergent evolution, I told you about the wings of the butterfly and the wings of the birds. Both of them, they are different category, birds and butterfly. Okay, but they are living in the same environment, so they have the same physical character but different anatomy. Yeah, that is an example of convergent evolution. And these structures, you call them analogous structures. What do you call them? Analogous structures. Now on the other hand, you have divergent evolution. Over here, what is the thing? You have different environment, different habitats, which is why, okay, evolutionary related organisms, okay, they will show different functions. They will show different functions. Okay, but anatomically they will be similar. For example, I told you forelimb of human being and forelimb of cheetah. We all are mammals. We have the same humerus, everything, but one is used for having food, one is used for walking around. So that is the difference. What do you call these structures as? You call these structures as homologous structures. Call them as homologous structures. So this is the only answer I can explain you here itself. Rest all of them you have to do because that is from the topic that we have studied today. Okay. Now, eyes of octopus and mammals. Octopus is invertebrate. It's not coming under vertebrate category. Vertebrate categories are the one which have vertebral column or it is replaced by something else. Okay. But octopus is a mollusk. It is an invertebrate. So both of them, they have eyes. They have the common function to see. Okay. But they are from different. So this is an example of convergent evolution. Agree? Okay. Now if you talk about divergent evolution, bones of forelimbs of vertebrates. Yes, when you talk about vertebrates, okay, when you talk about vertebrates and you talk about the bones, all of them, the forelimb bones are the same in all of them. So that is an example of divergent evolution, but we have to see others also. So thorns of bougainvillea and tendrils of cucurbita. Over here, thorns of bougainvillea and tendrils of cucurbita are originating from the same thing. That is axillary bud. So the origin is same, the anatomical feature internally it would have been same, but later on they differentiated. So this is an example of divergent evolution, children. This is an example of divergent evolution. Do not think that thorns and tendrils, they look different. Okay, they look different. Yes, they have definitely different function and they are anatomically, if we see, they are similar, which is why it is an example of divergent evolution. Now wings of butterflies and birds, I told you, it is an example of convergent evolution. The function is same, the wings are for flying. Bones of forelimbs of vertebrates is under convergent? No, it cannot be convergent. Wings of butterfly and birds, again it is wrong. Now thorns and bougainvillea, I told you it is divergent evolution. Eye of octopus and mammals, it is convergent evolution, because you see convergent evolution, why children? Both of the things are having the same function, and over here bones of four limbs of vertebrates, all of them have different functions. So this becomes the correct answer. Okay, what is the correct answer? A is the correct answer. Cool? Works? It's so nice, no? So when you are able to do the answers from evolution, you feel so good, because it's a very easy chapter. Okay, chalo. In the case of peppered moth, Pest and Betullaria, the black colored form became dominant over the light. Why is black colored form getting dominant over the light color? That is the thing. And what is the example? Appearance of darker colored individuals due to poor sunlight. This is wrong. Poor protective mimicry. No, children. Inheritance of darker color character acquired due to darker environment. All of them, are they inheriting something? No. Why do you see more amount of dark colored after industrialization? Because natural selection happened whereby darker forms were selected, which is why you are able to see them. Okay. Now, second question. The phenomenon of industrial melanism demonstrates what? What is it demonstrating? These things you have not studied. It is just natural selection. Okay, it is just natural selection that is being shown over here. Now, industrial melanism is an example of what? What is an example of? Drug resistance? Can we say it is drug resistance? No, we are not using any drugs. Darkening of skin due to smoke from industries? Nothing happened like that. It was all genetic. Protective resemblance with the surroundings. Yes, we saw that the black colored moth was protected because of the surroundings. Now, defensive adaptation of skin against ultraviolet radiation. There is no use of ultraviolet radiation anything. This is the thing. It had to cover itself, and this gave rise to the natural selection process. Okay. Now, the change of the light colored variety of peppered moth, Pest and Betullaria, to its darker variety, Pest and Carbonaria, is due to what? Okay, the darker one is known as Carbonaria, but anyways, they will ask you just for this. What is the reason for the change they're asking you? They're not telling you why one is getting selected and the other one is not getting selected. That is not the question. How did this change happen? How did we get darker varieties from the lighter varieties? What is the answer for this? This will be what, children? Mutation. It's because of mutation that you got two varieties. Okay, you got two varieties because of mutation. That is the simplest answer that you can give. Okay. Now, over here, which one of the following options I already told you? It's this and this. I'll tell you one more thing. So, the beauty of evolution is that the questions usually come from NCERT. So, if you are for other chapters, no, there are certain topics that comes out from NCERT, because obviously if everyone studies from NCERT, if everyone scores the same, then everyone will be selected. So, there should be some people who have worked a bit harder than others. They might have gone beyond the NCERT also. Okay, and that is why those people are getting selected also. But in the case of evolution, this is a chapter which obviously all the chapters require attention in NCERT, but this chapter I'll say with what I have seen, it becomes a little more easy. It becomes a little more easy. It's a scoring chapter. So if you have your NCERT and if you take a bit of references, it will be all good. If you hear to the lectures, it will be all great. Okay, because I'll be obviously completing all the questions which are there. And also on the Sunday, we will be having a mock test for evolution itself. So it will be really easy for you to understand things and learn better. Okay. Now, are you ready for homework? So we know every day we give homework, and today I have given homework from the topic that is this thing. So you have to tell me, this is not the topic that we studied today, but still I want you to do this. Thorn of bougainvillea and tendril of cucurbita are examples of vestigial organs, retrogressive evolution, analogous organs and homologous organs. These organs that you see, so many questions have come, children. I'm telling you, this is a very important topic, analogous and homologous thing. You have to practice it really nicely, otherwise you might mess it up, and I don't really want you to mess it up, which is why I am telling you 10,000 times you have to practice. There is no other way that you can score better in this. Okay, rest everything I think it's covered. There's nothing much left. And yes, in the next session we will be talking about adaptive radiation. That is also an important thingy. Now comes the role of Darwin and everyone, and I hope that each and everything that I taught today is understood by you. If you have doubt, please feel very free to ask me in the comment section, or when you're going live Okay, if I see, I'll definitely reply. If I'm not seeing, please put it down in the comments. I'll see and I'll reply to you. It's my guarantee. Okay, but you have to tell me, and if you're liking it, tell me, then also I'll be really happy seeing your comments down there. And I wish you all the success. I wish you happiness. Just be happy and prepare and be motivated always, my dear children. Bye bye. Take care. See you for the next session.